Welcome, everyone, to the first installment of the Esoteric Wellness blog. So thank you for tuning in and joining me today. Today, I want to talk about a controversial topic. And it's something that it's coming up more and more and more in my client sessions. It's becoming a really big issue in mental health even, and that obviously affects our physical health as well. And it's been really interesting to see it from that perspective. But what I want to talk about today is politics. And no, I'm not going to get into trying to convince anybody about a specific political view. Um, we all have our own views, myself included, but I'm going to leave that out of this. Okay. I want to talk about how politics has become so full of fear and anxiety. It's like so many people are really legitimately scared about the political situation, the political environment, and the potential repercussions of if this side wins versus if that side wins. And this anxiety, this fear is really affecting people's mental health in a big way. I have clients who the main driver of fear and anxiety in their life right now is politics. And that's crazy to me that when I was growing up, yeah, there were some people that really were into politics, really cared about it, but the general average person didn't really even pay that much attention to it. So what in the world has changed? So I want to first, because I think this is the most important aspect of helping people out of this problem, is realizing that the media, social media, political campaigns, the way in which they're grabbing our attention is through fear, it's through anxiety, because very smart people have learned that nothing grabs our attention as something that's potentially dangerous because that's the way our brains are wired. And that's a survival instinct. If we are more quickly able to notice a potential threat and deal with it, we're going to live longer versus if we naturally would gravitate towards positive things, pleasurable things. Um, if we notice the danger first, we're going to live longer. So they have figured out that by using fear, by using anxiety, by using scary news headlines, scary posts, they're going to grab our attention very, very effectively and hold on to it. So what has happened is all of these political campaigns, political advertising, it's all fear-based. I mean, just stop and take a look at any of it. Right now, a lot of the dialogue is, democracy's fate is at stake with this election. Like, if this side wins, it's the end of democracy. If that side wins, it's the end of democracy. Like, both sides are saying the same thing, that the outcome of this upcoming presidential election is going to determine everything. It's an all or nothing game here. And that, like, first of all, it's not true. And if you look at any election in the past couple decades, that dialogue has been the same consistently. It's always the end is nigh, right? And what has also happened is politicians have learned this recipe. And so we're now ending up with people being elected into office that stir up the most fear and anxiety. Long gone are the days where we elect people who make us feel the most at ease, right? Like, gone are the days where we're electing people that are giving us hope. We're now electing people that scare the shit out of us consistently. I mean, just look at the faces in Congress today and how that's changed over the years. So, if you take anything away from this episode, all of the media that you see, I don't care where you see it, it's trying to manipulate you in a certain direction. And 9 times out of 10 is trying to do that through exciting your anxiety and your fear. Because when we go into that anxiety mode in the brain, we become reactive. Okay. We just react to whatever's going on, whatever information we're being given, we just react. So when we become reactive, we're not thinking as logically, we're not thinking things through because our brain is like, we're in danger and we need to act now. We need to make a decision and carry through with it. We don't have time to weigh decisions. We don't have time to think critically. So we just react. So learning to see all this political stuff as manipulation. They're trying to scare us in a certain direction so that we vote a certain way. And they're also trying to get you to vote in that certain way without thinking critically about that decision. They just want you to reactively vote in a certain way. And both sides are doing this. Okay. There is fear mongering, there are scare tactics on either side of the aisle. I don't care what side you look at, they're both doing it. So, recognizing this fact that you're being manipulated by your fear. So, if you find yourself feeling scared about a certain political topic, issue, step back from that for a moment and think, why am I afraid? Am I afraid because somebody told me something? Or somebody showed me something? Or am I actually afraid from the reality of the situation? Now, how does this affect our mental and physical health? Well, we're constantly being bombarded with indications that we're in danger. Okay. And this is a big, big part of why the rates of anxiety have skyrocketed, are skyrocketing. I mean, anxiety is like an epidemic right now. So many people are feeling anxious all the time. And a big part of that reason why is because we're constantly bombarded with this dangerous, seemingly dangerous information that, if we don't vote a certain way, everything is going to come to an end. And when that's constantly being fed into our brains, that anxiety gets conditioned and we can get to a point where we can't turn it off because our brain's always in danger mode. It's always on the lookout for the next source of danger because it's learned that, wow, the world's a super dangerous place. We don't have time to feel relaxed. We don't have time to feel at ease because we're in danger. Why would we do that? So this constant bombardment of our brains with all this danger information leading to chronic anxiety, that chronic anxiety affects our physical health. I mean, in many ways, but just like one big way we could zero in on is like the nervous system. When we're in that fight or flight response, that sympathetic nervous system response, things in our body that are of secondary importance when we're in real physical danger get turned off. And you've got to remember that your protective lizard brain it doesn't really know the difference between a fake threat and a real threat. Okay, so all these threats being fed to us, to our brains through the media, your lizard brain's interpreting that as the same level of danger as if a bear's chasing you, trying to eat you. And clearly, logically, they're not the same level of danger, but our brains don't know that. So when we're always in this fight or flight response, again, these secondary processes like healing, digestion, hormone regulation, all the important maintaining systems in our body that keep us healthy, that stuff gets turned off. It's not doing it because if you get eaten by that bear, none of that matters anyway. What matters in that moment of danger is that we get away from it, that we deal with it, fight it, whatever. But when we're always in that state 24/7, these secondary processes and systems in our body become neglected. And that can cause all kinds of various different problems in the body, all kinds of different chronic symptoms. I think this is a big component of much of the chronic disease that we're facing today that causes so many people problems and suffering. So that's the problem. That's the what we're dealing with. So what can we do about this? So at the individual level, like I said earlier on, I think the biggest thing we can do is realize we can educate ourselves and wake up to the reality of the situation. Understand that all this media information that we're being fed around the political environment, and this goes way beyond politics, this is the media in general. Um, but if we can wake up to the fact that that's all using fear and anxiety to manipulate us, to try to control our behavior and our thoughts, we can realize that and separate ourselves from it. I'm not saying we have to become, the weirdo that lives up in the mountains by themselves, no TV, no phone, totally cut off from society. We don't need to take it to that extreme, but we need to set some boundaries and maintain a healthy relationship with these media sources. And also just understanding that it's trying to manipulate you can often make a big difference, even if you're still being exposed to it. Like you can watch that news story, you can see that social media post and see it for what it is, and it's not going to affect you as much. So again, at the individual level, you can easily not expose yourself to as much of this. You cannot believe all those fear tactics. You can see it for what it is and understand that it's all a manipulation. And that's going to allow you not to get sucked into that fear, sucked into that anxiety, and make better decisions. Make decisions through logic rather than reactivity out of fear. And think critically. Make better decisions. Behave how you would want to behave rather than just behaving reactively and then, left with whatever mess that creates for yourself. So, what do we do at a societal level? Okay. Because if we all as individuals understand this and change the way we behave, is that going to make the problem go away? I think in some ways, yes. If enough people make those kinds of changes, uh, the powers to be that are trying to manipulate us are going to learn that it's not working anymore and they're going to look for a new tactic. But I think, too, at a societal level, we need to rediscover the fact that all this is trying to separate us, right? All this is trying to divide us because our true power as a society lies when we're united, when we're together. Because those that seek power and control know that a population united is their biggest threat to their power. That if we all came together, we could achieve whatever the hell we wanted. But if we're all divided, angry at each other, fearful of each other, hateful of each other, we're going to be able to achieve very, very little. And that's what certain individuals want, because that allows them to maintain the control and power that they currently have. So, at a societal level, we have all these individuals understanding the problem, seeing the problem for what it is, changing how they're letting it affect them. But I think at a societal level, we need to come back together. We need to see our neighbors not as a threat, because they have a sign in their yard from a political candidate that I don't agree with. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We all want to be happy. We all want our needs to be met. And it's as simple as that. Okay. It's as simple as that. It really is. We all want the same thing. So why not come together and make that happen rather than bickering over details that in the big picture don't really matter? I mean, look at the issues that the current candidates are arguing over. I mean, like, I think abortion is a great example. Whatever your views on abortion are, abortion is a problem that affects a very small portion of the population. Okay. Looking past the fear mongering, the scare tactics around it, before all the bans got put into place, there were not that many abortions happening. Okay. This is a compared to other problems, other issues in our society like homelessness, hunger, education, things that affect all of us or most of us. This is such a minuscule issue, but it's at the forefront of politics because it's divisive, because people have very different opinions on the matter, and these are the topics they're going to choose to shove in our face because it keeps us divided. And it's an issue without an easy answer, right? There's no one clearly best answer to abortion. No matter which way you go with it, there's problems. There's problems. And ideally, it would be a case by case, right? Because in some situations, yeah, abortion makes sense. In other situations, it doesn't. So it's a divisive issue, and there's no clear right answer. Perfect to make us fearful and angry at each other. Perfect. That's why abortion is constantly the forefront of politics. Yet, for most of it's not an issue that even affects us. But if the main issue was something like making sure all children were fed or weren't going hungry, I mean, there's a clear right answer there. We can argue about details about how that gets done and who pays for it and all that, but there's a clearly right answer. So, of course, that's not the forefront because that's not going to keep us divided. So, I went on a little bit of a rant there, but again, at a societal level, we need to be coming together. We need to be having conversations, not yelling matches. Because we all have, I don't care what side of the aisle you stand on, we all have much more common ground than our differences. We're all human beings. We all want and need the same things. And we're losing sight of that because we're being manipulated by fear. And we're becoming reactive, and all that does is divide us. So that's my political rant for the day. But yeah, I think it's becoming quite an issue. And as the election draws nearer and nearer, I think it's going to become more of an issue, and then it'll fall to the wayside for a while, probably But no matter how the election goes, no matter who wins, life will go on. We'll all go to work the next day. I mean, it's not the end of the world as it's being made out to be. So take a deep breath, look past the fear and anxiety tactics being used to manipulate you, and just trust that we're all humans and we all care for each other and we all have common ground. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks everybody for listening, for tuning in, and I look forward to the next one. And I'll leave you with the words of Ram Dass, who frequently said, who his guru taught him. I don't know who came up with it first, but he said, love everybody and tell the truth. And I think if we all lived by those simple words, a lot of this problem would go away. So love everybody and tell the truth. Until next time. Bye bye.